Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing? It is 12:53 a.m. and I'm gonna probably do this vlog like in parts tonight for several different reasons. One, because this is the battery that I used last night, the tail end, to vlog, and it's also the battery that I used today to film a video for my Peter Monn channel and a review video that I did that I'm putting up tomorrow. It's actually rendering right now. And I forgot to charge it. And I also forgot to charge the other battery. Well, I guess it was from 2 nights ago, but it was sitting in my fanny pack, and I forgot to charge it. So I literally have like no batteries to use except for this one. So I have no idea how long this battery is gonna go. When it dies, I'm gonna run home and get the other battery. So depending on where I'm at, I'll probably take a break and listen to my audiobook. I've been listening to a lot of my audiobook today. I'm at like 2 hours and 24 minutes of my audiobook. Well, I mean, I guess I haven't listened to a ton of it. It's hard to listen to it on a really fast speed. So I usually listen to my books at 1.75 or 2-point speed, which is like 2 times the regular speed. And I don't have a problem doing that. I think because I speak so fast, I can hear really fast. But there are so many details in this book that I'm really struggling to like take it all in. So I'm listening to it, I think, on 1.25 speed. But anyway, I'm going to talk about the book in a second. This book is, it's really well done. It is really well done. But I have a lot of thoughts about it. So I want to talk about that for a second. So how was your day today, Peter? My day was good. How was your day? Did you guys have a good day? You did. I'm having this like thought in my head. Alex and I were talking at dinner tonight, and he was like, people seem to really like your video where we went to the ruins. And I said, oh really? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, have you thought about maybe like doing more videos like that, where you're like out and about, and you know, where you're like, you just take footage on your phone and then you put it all together at the end of the day, like an actual vlog, right? And I was like, yeah, I like that idea. He was like, well, you could try it and see how it works. And I go, I know, but then there are so many people that like my like car vlogs and talking in my car and things like that. And he goes, well, you could kind of mix it up. And I was like, so this is so funny, right? So when I was uploading my review video, like, you know, like videos that come up in your suggested or whatever, it was a Julian Solomita video, Jenna Marble's boyfriend, and he does those kind of vlogs. He like does all of like, you know, the vlogs, and I thought, and it was like, we had just been talking about this, and like one of his vlogs was very similar to what Alex and I were talking about tonight. Not that I'm like on that level, because I know I'm not, but I was like, yet. But I'm like, oh, this is really similar to what Alex and I were talking about. And I love his videos anyway. I love her videos as well. And I was like my first thought, because I always think this way, is, oh, like I could start another channel, and then I could put like 2 or 3 vlogs up a week, like 12-minute, you know, 15-minute vlogs of just like if it was a day that we were like doing a bunch of stuff, right? And then I thought, why do that when I could actually just like put it on a channel that already exists? So I'm thinking about doing that. I'm thinking about like maybe like twice a week doing like 12 or 15-minute vlogs throughout the day, like of us being at dinner, or us, you know, going and doing things that we're doing, you know what I mean? Like our life, not just me sitting in a car talking. Do you think I should put those on this channel, or do you think that I should put those on my Peter Monn channel? I'd be really interested to know what you guys have to think, because I'm probably not going to talk about it on my Peter Monn channel. So let me know in the comment section below. I actually thought, well, maybe that would be interesting if it was on my Peterisms channel, but I don't think that's a really good fit. I think it either belongs over here, or I think it belongs on my Peter Monn channel, and I'm not going to start another channel. So I'm kind of leaning towards putting that on my Peter Monn channel and kind of mixing that channel up a little bit and having it not just be all drama. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know over there. Or let me know in the comment section below what you think about that. And then, like, when we travel, like, I would still put my vlogs up, obviously my vlog channel, but then I would do, like, shorter, like, travel vlogs or hotel room tours or whatever over on that channel. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. Put it in the comment section below. So Peter, how was your day? It was good. How was your day? Remember we just had this did we just have this conversation? Why are we repeating conversations? I got up today and I had my training appointment at 1 o'clock, and I went in and I'm like, I don't know if I really want to talk about this on here or if I should save it, but since I'm taking you guys on the journey of my life, I mean, that's what this is, right? I guess I'll talk about it on here. So I don't think it's any mystery to anybody that I haven't really been doing what I need to be doing for my weight loss journey, and that I've just been kind of like really stuck and plateaued. And in fact, since I've been back on vacation, I've just been eating like crap. And I knew it because I knew that I was going to go in and have this conversation with her. And this is what I always do. And this is very much like, I think, addict behavior. And this is where my food addiction comes into play. That it's like, you know, like if you say to yourself, well, I'm going to quit drinking next week. And so then you drink as much as you can or whatever, you know, your thing may be. And I think it's very similar to that for me with food. It's like, well, I knew I was going to go in and have this conversation with her. So, I might as well just, I've been eating like crap, like absolute crap. Like I can already see it in my face and in my body that I put on weight since we've been back. Which I didn't put on any weight really while we were on vacation because I weighed myself when we got back. And you would think that I would, but we were walking around, we were in the pool so much and stuff like that, that I think it kind of balanced it all out. Plus, I ate rather healthy while I was on vacation. I mean, I ate like some crap like in the room and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, like dinners and things like that, I ate pretty healthy. Especially at the resort because I ate a lot of like couscous and stuff like that. And I ate a lot of like vegetables and fruit. So I was thinking while I was on vacation, and I had talked about it on here too, that like, it's really time for me to like get serious about this and really like, you know, kick in and get into shape. And so I went in and I talked to her about it today, and I was like, look, I want to get really serious about this, like super serious. And she was like, okay. And I was like, and I need your help because I am just going to stay stuck forever and not do anything about this. And then it's just a waste because I'm basically at this point coming in once a week for training when I do, and I'm not going to the gym any other time. What I said, which is weird for me because any other time that I've like signed up for a gym membership, I get kind of like weirdly obsessed with it. But I said I'm not doing that, and so we kind of processed why. And then I asked her how much is about the food, and she said like 90% is about the food, which I already knew, you know. And she's like, you're gonna have to make drastic lifestyle changes if you want to get into shape. You're gonna have to like really change your eating, and you're gonna have to just really get serious about this and like really gung-ho about what you want to do. And I said, well, I was thinking that maybe I need to up my training sessions so I have more structure. I'm a big believer in structure, like a huge believer. The camera fell already tonight, so we're gonna make that be the only time that happens, because it's not gonna happen again, because I'm not, if I have to reach forward and catch it every single time. Oh my God, somebody gave me the greatest idea. They said that their friend, somebody in the comment section, that their friend does this and has like a bean bag that they put on here, and that they like sit it in the bean bag and then it doesn't move and it doesn't obstruct the view either. So I've got to go find, it's like a stress bean bag. So I'm gonna go look for one of those. I think that's such a great idea. So I can't remember who said that, but thank you. But anyway, like I was saying, like I really like structure. You know, I do very, very well in structure. I'm a believer in structure. And so we decided that I'm going to come in 2 times a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. And then I said to her, you know, like, how many more times on top of that should I come in? And she was like, 1. And I was like, just 1? And she was like, yeah. She was like, how many were you thinking? I said, I don't know, 2 to 3. And she was like, I don't want you setting yourself up for failure. And she was like, if you say 2 to 3, she's like, if you want to say 2 to 3, we can do that. She was like, but if you say 2 to 3 and then a week into it, you've only come one other time or you haven't come out at all. She was like, are you going to feel down on yourself? And I said, oh yeah, absolutely. And she said, then let's just set it for 1 right now. And like, maybe, you know, and do that for April. And then like, you know, and in May we can move it up and we can continue to move it up until you're consistently coming in here on a regular basis. She said, but you know, like, I said, I don't know what is wrong with me. I said, you know, I used to love to come to the gym. Like, I would start going to the gym and I just like, you couldn't keep me out of there. I loved it, you know, but I'm like not feeling like that. And she's like, well, what do you think it is? And I said, I honestly don't know. I talked a lot about like our other gym membership and being completely intimidated by going to the other gym because it's like serious like bodybuilders and stuff like that. I mean, when I was at the gym today, there were like 3 other guys in there that were like in really great shape working out. But for some reason, because it's a smaller gym, I don't know what it is. And like people seem to be, I don't know if I would say friendlier, but they're like more interactive, like because you're like walking by each other. So people are like, hey, how are you? Or whatever. You know, my other gym, it's so big that, and I honest to God haven't been there in forever. And, you know, so I talked to Alex about it tonight and I said, because she and I talked about this too, I said, are you going to use the other gym? Because we still have both. So I have both gym memberships right now. Because I was keeping the other one for Alex. And he said, because he had said that he wanted to start going back to it. So I said I would just like, you know, pay it and we could just keep on going. Because then it has a pool. And then in the summer, if I wanted to use it or something, we could use it for that. And so, but he hasn't been. And I said, are you going to use the gym membership, you know? And he was like, because I said, if you're not going to use the gym membership and we get rid of it, then that will kind of like pay for my training sessions that I'm adding on. And he was like, well, how much would it cost for me to get like a family membership with you? And I was like, it's just $40 more. And he was like, I said for like a couples or a family membership, which means that we're saving like almost $70 or something like that. And he was like, okay. And I was like, you want to do that? He was like, yeah, let's do that. And I go, okay. He goes, I think I would like a smaller gym anyway. And I said, fine, let's do that. And he's going to maybe get a trainer and start too. And so I was excited about that because that will like save us some money. But then I was talking to her too because we talked about the food stuff extensively because, you know, she's like, well, 90% of it is food. And I was like, okay, well, that's where I really struggle with the food because I have I said I have a food addiction. I said I love to eat, you know, on and on and on. We were talking all about that. And the heat is so high in here tonight. Oh my God, when I stopped vlogging last night, you guys, I almost turned it back on to show you. It started snowing as soon as I stopped vlogging last night. So we were talking about the food, and I said something about, I was telling her about, did I already talk about this? I was telling her about, I feel like I've told other people this on the phone tonight, so I was like, but I don't know what I talked about, so if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But I said, you know, like, we talked about being a vegetarian. She's like, no, you can do this being a vegetarian easily. And I talked to her about Optavia, whatever it is that Alex did. And she's like, I don't really know much about it. She was like, but I can look into it. She was like, I wouldn't want you on it long term. She was like, but it's like kind of like, you know, a starting point. She said to get you eating healthier. And I was kind of explaining to her that you eat like 6 times a day, smaller meals. And she's like, oh yeah, I think that would be great as a starting point for you. Because again, the structure would be good for me. I, you know, said that. But, so she was like, you know, when do you want to start this? Do you want to start this now? When do you want to start this, you know, next week, couple weeks? What do you want to do? And I said, let's start it next Monday. I said, I have kind of like a lot of stuff I want to get done this week. And she was like, okay, we'll start it next Monday. Because I didn't train today. We just sat there and I talked. And we like came up with a whole plan of what we're going to do. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, between now and then I can kind of eat what I want. Is that not so horrible? See, that's the food addiction part, right? It's so bad. But I also think, like, this is part of why I'm kind of motivated to do the Optavia thing, is because it's like $400 a month, right? And then, you know, I upped my training sessions, so I have to pay more for those. And I'm kind of like, if I'm paying more for my training sessions, and then I paid for my Optavia thing, I'm not somebody that loves to waste money. I feel like I either had this conversation on the phone earlier with Tanya or somebody, or I was talking on the phone a lot today. I feel like I've lost my voice. But anyway, or I already said it on here, so if I'm repeating myself on here, you guys, I'm sorry, but it feels very deja vu-ish to me. But anyway, I feel like the more money that I am investing, I won't want to waste. So maybe at first, at least, I'll be more motivated to do it. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. But like, Alex has so hard pushed this Optavia thing on me that I'm like, he's like, just try it, just try it, just try it. I'm like, I'm just gonna try it. Like, why should, it worked for him, why don't I just do it, you know? It's just because it just looks so miserable. It doesn't even look, I mean, it's like, your dinner is like powdered tomato soup. Like, it just doesn't look delicious to me. But he lost a lot of weight on it, so I don't know. What do I want? Do I want to lose weight, or, you know, do I want to get healthy? Do I want to complain, you know? And I looked at him at dinner tonight and I said, you know, like, if I start doing this, I'm like really hardcore about it, like we might not be able to go out to eat as much. And he was like, okay. He's like, I'm completely fine with that. He was like, I want you to be happy and I want you to be healthy. And I was like, you're supposed to say no, I love going out to eat. See? No. But he's supportive of it too, so I have no excuse, you know what I mean? Which I knew he would be supportive of it. So that was my training session today. That was great. So that's next Monday that's starting. I'm kind of like nervous. I'm excited about it, but I'm scared. Because I feel like I'm really like jumping in with both feet, if that makes sense. And then I went and got a coffee. And then I came home and, what did I do? Took a shower. And then I filmed some videos, and by that point, after like running errands, driving around, getting coffee, having my session, all that kind of stuff, like by the time I got in the shower, it was like 4:15, and I had to leave at 5:30 for our counseling session. So, which was very sad, and I'll tell you about here in just a second. So so anyway, I filmed those videos, and then, but I did a review video, and I didn't get it up in time, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave it, and I will, put it up on my review channel tomorrow. So when you're watching this, I reviewed the Peeps cereal, but I already talked about it on this channel, so you know that I couldn't review it. So I just talked about what Alex said about it, and then I reviewed the Peeps coffee creamer. So you have to go over there and find out what I had to say. So then I went to our couple session. We had a great session tonight. We kind of like circled back and talked about forms of intimacy that we hadn't talked about in a while. And so it was a really great session. And then we get to the end of our session. Okay. Look, I'm gonna get emotional about this. I know I am, because I haven't really let myself process this yet. I know you guys are like, what is he about to say to us? Because you're thinking this is about my marriage, but it is and it isn't. But I really haven't let myself like really feel this yet, I think. When I talk in videos and I talk in my vlogs, and Alex and I talk about how much marriage counseling has really like literally saved our marriage. And that's no joke. Like, it has saved our marriage. And not only that, but it is, I think, given us a marriage that we never thought was even possible, even way before there were any problems. And, you know, like, it's hard to not associate that with our counselor, because I think we feel so blessed, both of us, to have found him. And I can remember when we first sat down and were like talking about going to counseling, and I was kind of real resistant to it. And I said, fine, then you find somebody. I looked over and it was completely out of focus, so I had to stop it. Okay, so, you know, when we started, like, I was really resistant. And I was like, fine, if you want to, you find somebody. And I had, like, all this, like, strict criteria, right, that I wanted. And, so Alex found our counselor. And I thought, like, I can remember going in the first time. And, you know, he was, like, younger than us. And, you know, dresses very LL Bean with the jeans rolled up and, you know, Clark shoes, and just really nice guy with, you know, wife and 2 kids, and whipped our asses into shape. Like, had no problem telling us how it was, you know, and really challenged our thought process. And, my husband was a very emotionally cold person. And when I tell you that, like, I have seen him in the last 2 years become this kind of, like, heartfelt, emotional, romantic, affectionate, compassionate person. Like, he's so kind today. Like, that is 100%, like, as a result of this counseling. And he knows that too, you know, and he's really gone to some, like, tough places, and we've both gone to some tough places in individual sessions and together. So we get to the end of our session tonight, and I looked over and I said, because Alex usually is the one that schedules the appointments, and I said, do we have anything scheduled yet? And our counselor was like, are you guys in a hurry? Like, do you have a couple minutes? And we were already, like, 5 minutes past, right? And I looked at Alex and I go, no, I'm not in a hurry. And I'm thinking, like, what's going on here, right? And Alex kind of looks at me and he was like, and so our counselor was like, well, I need to have a conversation with you. And I was like, oh God. And I go, okay. And he goes, so without getting into it, because, you know, I want to keep his life private. He has some interests that have absolutely nothing to do with counseling. That, like, we knew. Like, he's, like, got some hobbies and some things he does that has absolutely nothing, no, it's not YouTube. He has some interests that have nothing to do with counseling and have become an opportunity for a career for him. And so he's taking it. And, so basically he is, like, you know, closing down his practice and referring people elsewhere, and he's going to be open for, like, another month, and then he might see some people on, like, Saturdays or Sundays to help them, like, transition. And I mean, we're both of us, like, just so ecstatic and happy for him that he's doing something that he's really excited about. But I look over at my husband, who 2 years ago could care less, would have no emotion, wouldn't shed a tear. And I look over at my husband, and his eyes are just, like, full of tears, you know, and I'm crying, and because we're so thankful for what our counselor has done for us, you know, and so that was the big thing that happened today. And we were like, you know, like, do you know who you would refer us to if you were going to refer us to anybody, or, like, if we are going to continue with counseling or whatever? And he said, well, I would have to kind of, like, think about it. Let me think about it. And then by the time that you guys come in the next time, I'll probably have, like, a name or two for you guys. And so then Alex and I went to Cheesecake Factory at dinner afterwards. And, like, I sat down, like, he got there before me. And so I sat down and we were talking, and I said, so what do you think? And he's like, I'm really happy for him. I said, yeah, I am too. I said, but, like, I feel like we're so, like, I mean, I thought we would literally go to him for the rest of our lives, honestly, you know? And I said, so I guess we need to have a conversation. And he was like, okay. And I said, like, do we, he goes, what's the conversation? And I said, well, I guess the conversation is, do we want to go to somebody else and start over with, you know, like the history of our lives? Or do we want to, you know, just not continue, I guess, with marriage counseling? Which I was really scared. You know, I didn't know what Alex was going to say. I thought he would say, I guess if you had asked me like 30 seconds before, I'd say, Alex is going to say we need to continue with marriage counseling. And he did. He said, no. He goes, I think we both agree that it's vital, right? And I go, oh, yeah. And he goes, like, even like when we haven't had any kind of tension or anything, like, it's so vital. Like, we haven't had any tension, you know, on the vacation since we've been back or anything. So, like, today we didn't really talk about that. We talked about, you know, like, we circled back, like I said, about the intimacy stuff, and we kind of, like, reiterated some things that we needed to be reminded of and those kinds of things. And so he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, how do you feel starting with somebody new? And he was like, I'm fine. He was like, you know, Peter, he was like, if we had moved by now anyway, he was like, we would have been starting with somebody new. And I was like, that's a good point, you know. So I think we're gonna, you know, probably finish out with him a few more sessions, and then it's just hard. I think, like, for me, like, I mean, Alex and I are both people that have, like, huge attachment issues. You know, like I was just telling you about Mrs. Birdie. The stupid battery is flashing and gonna die. Oh my God, okay, and now I am, like, so far away from home. I'm, like, literally so far away from home. Okay, I'm gonna have to turn around and, yeah, so I'm gonna turn around and go back and get the other battery, and then I will come back and I'll probably by then completely forget to talk about my counselor. So if you want to know more about it, I will talk about it probably at a later time. But anyway, the end of the story is we are going to continue with counseling because we think that marriage counseling is just too important to just stop. And, you know, and maybe it'll be exciting to start with somebody new, you know, and maybe they'll give us a different perspective. Who knows? Like, that's what we said at dinner. We tried to look at it, you know, with a positive outlook that, you know, maybe we'll find somebody that will take us from where we're at now to the next level, and it'll be great. So anyway, okay, I'm gonna turn around and go get my battery, which should be fully charged by now, and I will be back in just a little bit. Bye. Okay, I'm back. I had to run home and get a new battery, and while I was home, the dogs wanted to go outside, so then I had to take them out. I took my hat off. It's over here. I just was like, I gotta this book is a lot, so we'll talk about it in a second, but, and it's interesting calling it this book, and I'll explain why I feel that way in a second, but, so I came home and, like, the dogs wanted to go out, so I'd take them out, but Mrs. Birdie is up there in her nest, and so when I take them out, the front door, I have to do it so that they're very quiet, and we go around the corner, like, one by one, so that we don't disturb her, because if she gets nervous, she's gonna fly away, and I don't want her to do that. So anyway, took them out, and then got them back up into bed, because I have to lift Pee-Pee up into bed, and then, my Peeps review video was done uploading, so I got it all done, so that I can just put that up tomorrow. And then, I changed the batteries out. I put the dead battery, well, not the dead battery, but the battery that had no battery on it left. I put it in the charger, and then, I might have had a bite of my Twix Easter egg that's been sitting on the counter since I reviewed it the other day. I will say this, don't put it in the refrigerator if you get it. It's better just sitting out. I've had, like, a little bit of a bite of it, like, twice a day since I got it. I just go over there and I, like, take it out and I eat a bite of it and then I put it back. It's kind of delicious. But anyway, yeah. I listened to, like, another 40 minutes of this book, and I'm, like, really intrigued by this book. But here's the thing. Like, when you're listening to it or when you're reading it, like, you know it's about Columbine. Like, you're like, I'm listening to it and I know it's about Columbine, right? And I'm at the part now where, like, I think they're almost at the part where they're gonna, like, find Dylan and Eric, who are the shooters, because it's getting kind of towards the end, like, the day that it all happens. But, the way that David Cullen wrote this book, like, if you read thrillers, like, I don't even know how to say this without it sounding, like, horrible, but, like, it reads like a thriller. Like, it really does. Like, it's like you're reading the action as it goes, and it almost doesn't feel like it really happened. Like, I honestly, like, I've had to stop it a couple times, and at one point I had to stop it because it just was like it hit me, and it was like, this happened. Like, this is horrible. Like, this is absolutely horrible that this happened and that people lived through it. And, you know, when you listen to it, it's, I think what's, you know, I've been reading a lot of articles about it. I've been watching a lot of, like, video footage of things. And, you know, kind of the interesting consensus is that, like Eric Harris, his parents have never, like, spoken out about it that I'm aware of, that I've seen. And Sue Klebold has, like, spoken a lot about it and, like, what she wishes that she had seen. And, you know, yesterday my opinion was a little bit different, but, like, I hadn't seen as many videos as I've seen now. I've watched a couple more today, and I think, like, her goal now is really, like, she wants to educate people so this doesn't happen again. It was, I have to say, it was very weird. I was driving by this high school in Indianapolis. It's right by our house, North Central High School, which is actually the high school that Augustus Waters went to in The Fault in Our Stars. That was the high school that he played basketball at. And I was, like, driving by there today, listening to the audiobook, and, like, the school was letting out. And so I was kind of, like, stuck in traffic just sitting there. And I had this, like, just weird feeling. Like, I just was like, I hope, because a big part of the book is that the date that they picked was the same day of the Timothy McVeigh Oklahoma City bombing, and that they were, like, part of why, like, he speculates in the book that maybe part of why they picked that date was to outdo him, because they had said some things about him in there. And I'm like, I hope that we're not going to have, like, some kind of recreation of this Friday. Because this upcoming Friday is the anniversary of, well, the 20th, I think it's, I think it was supposed to happen on the 19th. I think they had planned it for the 19th, but it ended up happening on the 20th. I'm going to pull in here and check, because they were going to do it on the Monday after school, but they didn't have all of the stuff that they needed. They didn't have all the ammunition that they needed, so they moved it to the next day. But when you're reading it, like, or listening to it or whatever, like, you get kind of so caught up in, like okay, first of all, he really writes about the people almost as if they're characters. And so he writes a lot about the victims as well. So you get to know about the victims, like this Patrick Ireland, who, like, he goes in and talks about this girl that he wanted to ask to prom. And, like, that's, like, kind of, like, he goes in and he really, like, it's very interesting. Like, he really explains a lot about the people involved, and he goes through and he picks certain people out, and he even goes in and talks about this FBI agent and the coach at the high school. And I mean, you kind of know that some of these people are gonna end up being killed, because you can tell the way that he tells it, or injured, because, like, he just randomly talks about these people. And so you're like, well, he wouldn't be mentioning these people if they, like, didn't play out whatsoever. I'm going to pull in here, because I think the date was the 20th. I think it was 4/20, because I think that, like, with that date being, like, the National Smokeout date, too, I think that has, like, people have hooked those two things together. But I'm almost positive it was supposed to happen on the 19th. I think, like, that's when they had planned to do it, because that's when the Timothy McVeigh Oklahoma City bombing was on the 19th, and so was the Waco shootout. They talk a lot about that. He talks a lot about that in the book. It's just fantastically written. I mean, I have to say, like, hold on a second. I literally, do you ever, like, just type something in so, like, incorrectly? I typed OLUMIVINW date, and it came up. April 20th. And it was supposed to be a Columbine high school in Littleton, Colorado. 2 teens went on a shooting spree on April 20th, killing 13 people and wounding more than 20. I think it's 24 people that they wounded. Oh, there's like this documentary that has like footage. Oh, I don't know that I could watch that. It's very disturbing. But the thing is, he does so excellently. No, that's not a word. He does so well. Is that to really give the reader an idea of what it was like. He literally describes moment by moment of what is happening. The parents outside waiting, people coming, like students like hiding in certain areas, students calling in to CNN and other places and talk. I mean, it's so specific that like when you're listening to it or reading it, like you literally feel like you're participating in what happened. And it's surreal. Like, it's absolutely surreal. Like, this is, I think almost to some degree as a society, we've become kind of numb to these horrific tragedies, you know? I just, and then like, when I was reading it, listening to it earlier, before it gets to this point, like, their maximum plan of how many people they wanted to kill was 2,000 students and 150 staff members. And had their plan gone correctly, because they had all of these bombs, and so their plan was to rush in, and I mean, they had the plan. They had it planned out. They had like these bombs that were going to be placed in there, and then they were going to, like, everybody was going to rush out, and that's when they were going to, like, you know, it's just as horrible. I have to say, though, like, I'm really glad that we chose this book to read. I feel like it really educated me about knowing about a lot about this that I didn't know. And it also forced me to start looking into, like, I've watched, you know, all the Stu Klebold stuff, and I want to watch some of the victims victims interviews and things like that. And it's just, it's so horrible. So horrible, you know? And I think, like, the other thing is, like, having just lived through that, like, it's a lot just to listen to as an audiobook, I'll be honest with you. Like, it's a lot. And it's kind of made me edgy the last couple days. But, like, I also can't kind of stop listening to it because it's so well written. If you're reading it, I'd be interested to know if you feel the same way. But that being said, it's like I think it'll be interesting to see what they talk about later. I think they're going to, like, this is, because this part has gone on for about over 2 hours or more, where they're talking about, like, from the point that they go into the school and then, like, the end of it. And I think it'll probably it'll take another hour to finish up. So it's kind of told in real time. But you know what's interesting is, like, when you're sitting here and you're listening to it from, like all of these kids that, like, even the kids that, like, went, like, because a lot of the kids left lunch. It takes place during lunch. Like, that's when they planned it, was during a lunch. And I don't know, maybe I'm talking down to you guys, I don't mean to, but, like, I just didn't know these details. I mean, honest to God, I just did not know these details of Columbine. And, like, one of the things that's really interesting is, like, the chapter I just listened to is about the assumptions that started coming out of this, like, trench coat, like, mafia, and that that's actually not true, and that they wore these trench coats into the school just to kind of hide the stuff that they were carrying, but past that, they didn't wear the trench coats. And even the principal at one point, he's, like, talking to this, like the police outside once he gets outside, because he wants to go back in and, like, help, and they're like, no, you're not going back in. And they're like, you know, they start asking about these guys in the trench coats, and he's like, there's not in a trench coat. It's like, it was like a kid with his baseball hat back, which would have been Dylan Klebold. And they're, I think that was Dylan. But anyway, it was like a Red Sox hat. I can't remember which one wears that. But he's like, they weren't wearing trench coats. And so this whole idea of these, like, goth kids that, like, you know, wore makeup, and, like, it goes in and it describes, like, this, that he, like, reads a statement that one kid said, and it's like, yeah, I know, like, they're the ones that are always, like, obsessed with death, and they wear all black, and they're very goth, and all this kind of stuff. And that was, like, completely misrepresentative of who they were. So, like, this idea of this, like, I really thought, until I was reading this book, like, that idea that came out of, you know, Columbine was something that was true, you know what I mean? Like, that they really were that, and they really weren't that. And it's interesting how, like, that stereotype has been based on an assumption that came out within the first few hours of people not even knowing anything. And it was interesting because they go in there and they talk about how they wouldn't even know till years later, like, what the motives were and stuff like that. And there were these basement tapes that Dylan and Eric apparently filmed to, like, explain why they did what they did, and they left all this stuff, but, like, the police kept that from the public for months and didn't even release, like, part of it till years later. I didn't know anything about that. There's so much about this that I had no clue about. But when you're reading it, like, you kind of, like, get lost in listening to it or reading it, and then it's like, it kind of hits you like, oh my God, this is, like, real. Like, this happened, you know? And, like, the thing that's been, like, really hard for me the last half an hour is, like, so there were so many kids that, like, left school for lunch because they had an open campus. And so, like, when they would try to come back, they couldn't get back in. There were, like, police barriers. Well, their parents don't know that they're not at school. And the cell phones aren't going through, and it's just like, and people have left their houses. And so there's, like, this pandemonium of panic, right? And then, you know, there's kids at the school that are, like, locked in classrooms and, you know, broom closets and janitorial closets. And there was these, like, two guys that were in the kitchen, like, the cafeteria freezer. And just to think about, and they could, like, and there was, like, one kid, and he's, like, underneath a desk in a classroom by himself. And he's, like, talking to a reporter on the phone. And the reporter's, like, asking him questions, and he's like, I don't know any more than you do. And, like, she could hear stuff, like, falling and being shot in the background. And so she tells him to get off the phone. And it's like, just to have to live through that, you know, like, even those that weren't injured were, like, psychologically injured for life, you know? You know, the parents that panicked that day, not knowing where their kids were, even if their kids were just out at lunch and were safe, you know? Apparently, like, all these kids are, like, running from the school, and they have, like, nowhere to go, and there are, like, stay-at-home moms that were, like, opening their doors, like, ushering kids in, like, saying, come in, come in, come in. And at one point, like, there was one house where apparently there was, like, 100 kids there, 150 kids, as somebody reported. And it's just, like, I remember it happening. I don't remember where I was. I don't remember any, like, you know, with 9/11, I remember where I was. I was at work, and I remember how that all happened. But I don't remember where I was with this, you know? I don't remember with the Newtown thing. Like, I do remember, like, sitting there all day and watching the footage of it on the news and just being like, I cannot believe this is happening. And the same thing with 9/11. But I don't remember this. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't know where I was. I would have been working in treatment at that time. It would have been right before I graduated with my master's degree. I don't remember, like, where I was the day that it happened. I just don't. And, I don't know. Not that that matters, but it doesn't, you know? But I think to some degree we've become kind of numb in society about these, like I said, these horrific tragedies. And it's kind of like, they're just like things that, like I was reading these comments underneath, I was getting ready to watch some video. I don't know what it was, but it was by one of the victims. Something about questions she still has for Sue Klebold, or the parents of the shooters. And I think, but I didn't watch it, but like a lot of people commented underneath there. I was reading some of the comments, and the overwhelming comment that was interesting was, why would you blame the parents in this situation? But like a couple people said in there, they said, like there are so many school shootings and blah, 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 whatever. And like, is that the thing? Like there are, so it's just this thing now, you know? I remember when the movie theater thing happened. Now I do remember that happening. I think that was in Colorado too. And I remember after that, like my first response was, I'm not going to the movie theater anymore. Like, I'm just not. Like, that's terrifying, you know? And then I remember thinking, is that the society that we're becoming? Like, that we're afraid to go do stuff for our lives? Like, to go to the movies? Like, it's so scary that that's the society that we live in today, you know? It just breaks my heart that we can't feel safe in sending our kids to school, you know? We can't feel safe sending our kids to elementary school without having, you know, like, metal detectors, I guess. I don't know, like... It was interesting because on that video where I was reading the comments, somebody commented and said, homeschool your kids because I've never heard of a homeschool shooting or something like that. I don't know, it's a powerful book. Like, I would really recommend it to everybody. It's a really, really cohesive telling of what went down at Columbine. I was telling Alex about it at dinner tonight, and he was like, you like this book, don't you? I said, I feel bad saying I like this book because it's not like I like the subject matter of the book. I said it is so well done that it's hard not to listen to, you know? But I hope that he does get into kind of explaining more of it and the basement tapes and stuff like that. I hope it's not just a factual account of what happened and then it just ends, because I'd like to kind of know more about like the motive and what got them there and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I do know that Sue Klebold has talked a lot about mental health with her son Dylan, and like I said, about him being suicidal. There's this whole thing that's interesting about the this FBI agent that goes in there, and I can't remember what his name is, but he is the FBI agent, like in another case. He was either in another case that we read about in our book club, or he is in some documentary that I watched. I can't remember. But they even kind of, like, I think mention it in there. Because when they said who he was, that he was famous for such and such case or something, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But his son is in the school, and I don't know what, I'm not there at that part yet, so I don't know what's going to happen. But he goes in and they talk about how there's two different kinds of like hostage situations. That basically you have a hostage situation where, I'm going to horribly explain this, but you have a hostage situation where the person that is like holding the people hostage, like, doesn't want to take their lives. and so you can like talk them down. But then you have hostage situations where the people's lives mean nothing to them, and that's like, they're two completely different things, and so you have to handle them in two completely different different ways. And then he also talks about, like, they go in and kind of like talk about him saying that if there are two shooters, like, each shooter is going to have to be dealt with in a different way. The thing that's so interesting about this book is that and it kind of makes sense to me now. I kind of wondered why Eric Harris's parents haven't spoken about it. But through the whole book, they very much paint this picture that Dylan Klebold had very little to do with this other than the planning. And that he didn't really shoot a lot. But more may come out, I don't know. But like, even the author like goes to like some extent in explaining that and saying that, like, well, you know, Eric fired off, you know, 40 some rounds and Dylan only did 5 or something like that. And he says something about like, okay, so their plan gets behind. It's just a lot. It's a lot. Like, the bombs don't go off. If the bombs had gone off, it would have been, I mean, 100 times worse than it was. And so, like, he says something about plan B, and he was like, Eric didn't have a plan B because of his, like, he was so, like, overly confident, and he was like, and Dylan didn't have any plans at all. Or something, he wouldn't have any, like, plan in this at all, or something, basically just making it like Dylan was just going along for the ride. And then Sue Klebold in her TED Talks kind of says that too. She says something to the effect of like a very controlling, complex friendship or something. And while that may be true, it's like, I don't know, like, they planned it out for a year, and Dylan walked into the school too, you know? It's like, I don't know. I guess we'll find out more as I read more, but have any of you read this book? Like, it's sad. It's very, very sad. You know, I was thinking, like, when I was reading it, it's interesting, like, the people that would have, like, been seniors that year in high school are older than my husband is now, you know? And, but to some degree, I think, like, for me, when I think about Columbine, it's kind of like stuck in time, you know? Like, I see that just, like, that happening, just, like, stuck in time. And whenever I think about it, I always think of, like, just seeing, like, kids running out of the school. I can't even imagine. I mean, I really can't even imagine how terrifying that would be. I cannot imagine. So, if you want to read it and participate in the book discussion, it will be the last Sunday of this month. Oh, I know what they were talking about with him, the FBI agent. He was part of the Waco. He was the last guy that went in and talked to David Koresh, which I don't know if you guys remember this, if you watch my blog consistently, but I watched that. It was like a 3-part documentary on Waco. It was so good. It was like, I feel like weird sometimes saying like, oh, this documentary about Waco was so good. I mean, what I mean by that was like, it was really well done. It was like interesting to watch. I don't mean like, you know, but that whole story was so weird. People ask me a lot, like, documentaries that I think are like really, really good. Like, that one was so well done. The Jim Jones one I was bored with. I don't have a lot of interest in Jim Jones. I don't know why. It just hasn't been that's just not something I'm real interested in. Wild Wild Country on Netflix I thought was super interesting, about the guy from India that built a commune in Oregon or Washington or wherever. Like, I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, the David Koresh thing is like, you know, And when you watch those things, or when you like read the books, one of the things that's interesting is you find out that like there's the truth of like what happened, and then there's the media's perception. And what I've realized is, like, finding out more about a lot of these things is that so much of it, of what I know to be true, is just what I've learned from the media. Like, it's not even true at all. You know what I mean? Like, and then it makes you wonder, like, right now, you know, in the United States, like, or anywhere, I guess, in the world, but are there things like that going on that we're not aware of, you know? I remember the Waco thing happening, but I don't really know that I understood it at the time. More of what I understood was, like, they would say, like you would turn on the TV and it would be like day, you know, 12 of the, you know, hold down on Waco, Texas. I remember that, but I don't remember like knowing a lot about the story or knowing a lot about David Koresh. I also remember the Heaven's Gate thing happening. I don't know why I remember that one. That stood out to me. I think probably because of my interest in UFOs. But that one was just so bizarre. So bizarre. I think they thought they were going to go like on Halley's Comet or something. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? But that wasn't like a stand down either. Like, that was what they would say. Like, you turn on the news and they'd be like, you know, day 12, the stand down on Waco. That wasn't like a stand down. Like, I don't remember Heaven's Gate being that way. I remember it's just like we woke up and the news story was they found all these people in that house. Isn't that how that happened? And I honestly don't know how I never heard about that Wild Wild Country guy. Like, when I watched that documentary, there were so many people that were involved in that. I thought, how did we never hear? I mean, did you guys hear about that on the news? I never heard about it on the news. I thought, how did we never hear about this on the news? So it's so sad. You know, and one of the comments that I was reading underneath that video about Columbine was like, she must have made a statement in the video, something about the good always wins or something like that, because somebody commented and said the good always wins, like a question mark, and they're like, no, we haven't learned anything from Columbine. What have we learned from Columbine? Nothing. And I thought about it and I thought, what have we learned? You know? What was interesting in that comment thread was that there were so many people that were going in there saying that, like, Dylan and Eric had been bullied, which I had heard of for years and years and years. And maybe we'll get to that in the Columbine book, but I'm not there yet. But that is true. Oh, I thought that was a Frosty the Snowman. It's like a lit up Easter bunny out there in their yard. But, like, he hasn't said anything about that in the book yet, about them being bullied, you know? So sad. So many lives. I had all these things I wanted to talk about tonight. Now I can't remember what I was going to talk about. When I was driving back from counseling to the restaurant or Cheesecake Factory, I was thinking about it. Alex was so cute at dinner tonight. He goes, we were ordering, and so like we have like the same waiters every time we go to Cafe Patachou, and like we're like friendly with them, like friends, and we always see them and, you know, hang out and talk to them. Well, two of them were eating when we were there tonight. We sat in the bar and they were sitting in the bar, So they like came over and started talking. It was really fun. They came over and started talking to us, and but anyway, so Alex ordered, and he was stupid camera foul. So anyway, I'm just gonna hold on to it when I take off this time, because that's when it always happens. So Alex had ordered, and he ordered the white chicken chili off the Skinnylicious menu because he was trying to eat healthy, and he had Chipotle for lunch. And so he like stood up and went and said something to our waiter, and he came back, and I said, did you just like change your order? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, what did you change it to? And he goes, I changed it to spaghetti and meatballs because I had Chipotle for lunch. And I go, well, what is, I don't understand. He goes, well, I had Chipotle for lunch. He just kind of laughed. It was so cute. I love the bread at Cheesecake Factory so much, can I just tell you? I eat the brown bread, Alex eats the white bread, and we love the butter. So we go through like 2 huge things of butter. But it's great because we both eat separate bread. So he can have all the white and I can have all the brown. I like the whole wheat bread. Tomorrow night's my meeting night with Tanya Jean. Tanya Jean Applestein, prettiest girl I've ever seen. Talked to her earlier today. I thought we might go get a fountain pop or something tonight, but we didn't end up doing that. I heard from her like early. She was going home on her break from the kennel, and she was going to take a nap. And she said she'd call me later, and I never heard back from her, so I don't know, maybe she was too tired. She's been working so much lately. But tomorrow night we'll go to the meeting, and then maybe we'll go out to dinner tomorrow night after the meeting. We haven't done that in a while. I'm tired, but I want to listen to more of this book. I feel like I kind of want to get past this part. That is the weirdest sign I've ever seen. I don't even know what it means. It had like a school bus on it, but it had like a bunch of other stuff on it too. I've never seen that sign before. Tanya was asking me what Alex thought of Game of Thrones. I was like, he didn't really say anything about it because he knows I don't watch it. Everybody's like, Peter, you would love Game of Thrones. I'm like, I cannot go back and start it 7 seasons later. But I did look up the cast because I wanted to know who that girl was. That's like the main part. And you know, she's like, I looked up her. This is where I always look up like people that are like casts. I don't know why that interests me. But she's like the 7th highest paid TV actress in the United States. She's the one that, her name starts with D. I don't know, DeVarnis or something like that. She's the one. So anyway, she has long blonde hair, like white hair. She was riding a dragon last night. That's all I know. She's beautiful. And she makes $1 million an episode. Can you even imagine? She makes $1 million an episode. Okay, first of all, you're have your dream life, okay, of being an actress. Then you're in probably one of the most popular shows ever created. And you're the lead, okay? And you get to go to these shoots on these beautiful places and have, like, work with these amazing casts, and you get paid $1 million on top of that. It's crazy, isn't it? I don't hate her for it. I don't hate anybody for it that's getting paid a lot of money to do something that they love and living their greatest life. I think that's fantastic. I think it should be inspiration and motivation for all of us, you know? I think that's cool. I was reading all her... You guys, it fell back again. I'm so over this. So, I was talking about where she went to school and stuff. So I'm going to pull in here and I'm going to bid you good night. and we bid you good night. Do you guys know who that is? Put in the comment section below if you know who that is. Anyway, I'm real over it. I've got to find something that's going to work for this camera, because I cannot continue to deal with it falling back every time I'm going through it, like, you know, a stoplight. I just can't. It's like every time I'm sitting at a stoplight and then I go, it falls back, so I'm over it. But anyway, I'm gonna get off here now. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic, what is tomorrow, Tuesday? A fantastic Tuesday, unless you have other plans. And I hope you're having an amazing day, unless you have other plans, is what I say. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Pass it on to somebody else that needs to hear it. Even just go in the mirror and say it to yourself. Sometimes, you know, we need to do that too. And yeah, I was gonna say something else, and now I can't remember what I was gonna say. Have an amazing day unless you have other plans. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Go say it to yourself in the mirror. Try it. Try it. Seriously, you should try it. And I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. I love you.